Hello, brethren. This is Tatum.
And this is Taylor.
And I'm Emily.
And we're doing our podcast over our books. So to start off with, we're all going to give a summary of what our book was about. So I read a book called 5 Flavors of Dumb, and it was pretty much about this girl named Piper who is deaf and somehow gets appointed to be the manager of a popular band at her high school named Dumb. And it's like 3 people in the beginning, and they're all like completely different, but they need a couple other people, so they get like 2 other people to join their band, so that's where the 5 flavors comes from. And it's completely about how like their adventures change throughout the book, and they all become better friends and become better as a band, and so yeah.
And my book was The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey, and it was an apocalyptic situation book. And it did switch point of views from the main characters, but it basically just tells the story of how they're trying to survive and who their relationships are with and their friendships and what those mean and what those can do to you.
My book was called The Sixth Target. Obviously that's the 6th book in the series, and like the whole series is about these 4 women who come together to help solve crimes. But the 6th book is about a lawsuit against a hospital that has had like a ton of deaths in the past year, and the families think it's suspicious because like all their family members have been receiving the wrong medication. But there's one crime in it that happens, except for it cuts off like halfway through the book. So it's not even really about the crime. It's mostly about the lawsuit. By the end of the book, though, they catch the killer who had been giving the people the wrong medication, and the hospital does get sued for it.
That's why. Okay, so I'm pretty sure like the main character is a girl in all our books, right?
Yes.
And it's a pretty dynamic character. Like
yes.
She pretty much changes throughout the book. So I guess I'll go first, and I'll say like Piper, the girl in my book. She's deaf, right? But she's very good at like lip reading, so that's how she talks to people. And I mean, she does sign language, of course. It's how she prefers to communicate. But she's good at lip reading because not a lot of people do sign language. And so she starts out like this timid little child in the beginning, but then by the end she freaking chops all of her hair off and dyes it bright pink. So of course she's a very dynamic character, and I really like that about the book, So.
And the dynamic character in my book, her name is Casey, and that's the point of view that you get the most out of the first book. And she's always, she's the connecting factor to everyone in that book. And she's a very motherly type to her brother, but is also constantly trying to survive herself and trying to avenge the deaths of her friends and her family, and she's just trying to pull it all together.
The dynamic character in my book, her name is Lindsay, and it's mostly about her because she is the one who, like, she's the lieutenant and she's always the one solving the crimes, but like she has all these friends that come and help her because she's 30, so she's not, like, she's single, and she just needs all the support from all the crime that she, has to, that she pulls in on a daily basis.
So, your character, I know about Taylor's, but, does yours, somehow start off, timid and, get more confident in herself? Because I know, that's how it is in the 5th Wave, because
yes.
I saw the movie. 5 Flavors of Dumb does that.
Yes, my character actually does. She grows more confident with herself by the end of the first book because she's, just worked on this major case, and she completely solved it with the help of her friends, and then she becomes the lieutenant. And although she's, really hesitant about being the lieutenant because her partner has been on the force longer than she has, she still, she takes over, and she becomes more confident as the series goes on.
I really like books like that. I just find them interesting. Do you want to say anything?
Well, Casey, she does start out a little bit timid before there is the apocalyptic situation of the aliens coming to Earth, and she's just a normal girl, and she's got normal girl problems such as being afraid to talk to her crush and stuff like that. But by the end of the book, she's so strong and brave and going back to save her brother and fighting internal battles as well as external.
And I think like it's really interesting that they're all females and they're so dynamic and they get out of their shell. But like I'm kind of wondering what would happen if the main characters in a book's like if the only thing that changed if they were all men instead of women. So like I don't know, like a shy guy turning into a confident guy. I mean, that seems like the exact same thing when you say it like that. But and again, like the stereotypes of genders these days, like a guy coming out of a shell wouldn't seem like that much bigger of a deal than a girl coming out of her shell. So I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think in my book, The Fifth Wave, if Casey was somehow switched into a boy, it would definitely affect her relationships with the other people around her. And I think she would have been more confident at the beginning, I guess, when the apocalyptic situation first started. And I don't really know how it would completely affect it, but it would definitely affect her situation with her brother and like their bond, and it would also affect her relationships because she's at one point with a alien boy, and I mean
unless they were both gay, but that would also be kind of a changer.
That would definitely be a game changer. So what about you, Emily?
I feel like if Lindsay were to be a boy, she would be a lot more confident and she wouldn't open up as much to people because like you don't tend to think guys open up to their own friends, and we wouldn't know. But
guys don't open up to girls unless they're making stuff up because they like them.
Yeah. Well, there's also the fact that like there's so many people, like men out there that are lieutenants. So it wouldn't really be that much like that different, and I think she would have been a lot more confident from the start, and like she wouldn't feel that people just think that she's weird for being the lieutenant and a girl.
So you're pretty much saying like if she was a guy, then she probably wouldn't have had to work as hard to become lieutenant.
Yeah, and the series probably wouldn't have gone on for this long.
Yeah, I'm actually with you there because like that sounds really sexist, but if you think about it, it's pretty much true. Like as great as our generation is, like it's so much better with equality and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to be like a mega feminist here or anything, but it does seem like things still are more biased towards guys. Like guys get all the tough jobs and girls get all the feminine jobs.
Even if it's not biased, it seems abnormal. It might not be abnormal, but it seems abnormal comparatively. Say like a guy was lieutenant, like I don't know, that doesn't make as good of a story as a girl.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess like when the author were to choose their main character, it's just like, hey, let's write about a girl. Because, most stories these days are about girls doing something great. So I guess that's not that big a deal. But if it were a guy, I guess that would be a bit of a change, but not completely in the setting of the books. Because, guys are typically, in badass situations like that. And guys, get lieutenants, and guys get chosen because they be more responsible. I don't know. I haven't actually thought about mine. Like a deaf guy getting appointed manager, which there is a bit of love interest in the end there, but that's not important. Okay, so to finish this off, I'm gonna ask you, if there was one thing you could change about your book, what would you change?
There's a certain character in my book that affects the relationship with Casey and another character who I definitely ship together, and I want that one character to die, and he doesn't. Evan Walker is an alien.
You don't like him?
No, I do not like Evan Walker.
I think
he's a great addition to the book. I just wish he would have actually died so that Casey and her high school crush could have ended up together because they're super cute.
That book is so heteronormal, and it's cringe.
And I love it. So,
I really don't know what I would change. I haven't there are 13 books in the series, and obviously I'm only on the 6th one. So I really don't know what I would change because everything is tied together. I mean, I guess if I could change one thing, I would bring back one of the original girls who had died in, I think, the 4th book, and kicked out the girl they replaced her with, because I feel like when that girl died, it kind of just changed everything for me, and it was just kind of weird.
Okay, I kind of want to read your book, because I know more about hers just because I watched the movie, and the 5th Wave is a big popular thing right now. But I haven't actually even heard of yours until you're talking about it now, and it seems interesting.
So what about you? What would you change?
Well, my book is very cheesy because it's pretty much trying to be this thing where like music can change you, music can bring you together, and it does a good job of that because it like does change the characters, but it doesn't really show how well it changes the characters. So I guess I would want a little bit more of that in there because it pretty much the most like climax point was when they go to Jimi Hendrix's house and they're all just kind of sitting there marveling over it, and they've all changed when they get back. But I don't know, I guess I haven't really had an experience like that, so I wouldn't know how it would change somebody, but I guess I would want them to go more in depth on that. Either that, or the only person that didn't really change, or change for the better at least, was the lead singer of the band, Josh, who starts out as like one of those cocky player guys, and he just kind of gets even worse and worse, and by the end of the book he's like, F this, F that, I'm the star of this, I should have been in the camera, and all that, and he like, I don't know, quits the band or something. Yeah, he quits the band. But...
Spoilers!
Sorry. So, yeah. All right.
That's a wrap.
Yeah, man, signing off. Da-da-da. Okay, bye.